forgive me for indulging myself, but I'm very happy to have my cousin here.
Well, it is certainly. Can you hear me okay? It is good to be here today, and as I told my Aunt Janet, I know I'm here based on her doing. So I chose today, even though I'm working for a Mennonite Mission Network, to tell a little bit of my testimony and how I got to missions. Let me start though just by saying so that I work for Mission Network. I just started in February, so I'm brand new. Some of you probably know more about Mission Network than I do. I work as a church relations associate, and so what that means is we have the opportunity to go out to congregations, to speak, to get to know you. Sometimes it's just visiting. Sometimes it's just hearing your story, what you're doing in your communities, and partnering with you in that way. Recently, in some of my training and learning about what I was doing with Mission Network, I was doing some reading from a book called Fully Engaged. In fact, the name of the book is Fully Engaged, Missional Church in an Anabaptist Voice, edited by James Crable and Stanley Green. And one of the stories, one of the things, the chapters in this book talked about the Bible as a story, about God's story where we join in with God's mission. And so it got me thinking, how did I get here? How did I get to missions? And so I thought, I entered the story. There were people who went before me, and there are people who will continue after me. And so I think that's really important that we see ourselves as a part of a story. So as Kent already alluded, I'm adopted from Costa Rica. And so my story begins with a family, and not just an immediate family, Lynn and Dot Smucker, but an extended family, the Smucker family, the Springer family, adopting me into their family. And that was an invitation for me to be with them. And I didn't know it yet at that time, but I said yes, with my open arms, right? So there, I think, starts maybe the beginning of my journey. A family that went before me, a family that welcomed me in, and one in which I said, I want to be a part of this family. And I did. I mean, I love my family dearly. To me, that is my family. Adoption is just one way to be a family. Another family that I joined, not just the family that I live with, but also a community. I grew up in Elkhart, Belmont Mennonite Church, and so I have this amazing amount of mentors, people that walked beside me, pastors that came through the pulpit, that really helped me to grow and understand what it meant to be part of a faith community. So my journey continues. I'm getting a little closer. Now I'm kind of starting to realize I'm saying yes to both this personal relationship with God, but I'm also saying yes to a community. And baptism is a signal of that public yes. I want to be a part of this. And so I remember that being a very significant time in my life. And so I think it's part of that journey, part of that story. Well, one thing at Belmont and in that community is we're very focused on service, on outreach. That was a part of what we did in our daily lives, part of what we did as a church, reaching out to those who lived around the church. And so that too started to become part of my journey. So now my world is growing. So now it's not just my faith community, it's this community that surrounds the church. Now, I go a step further. After college, I'm invited by somebody from Pittsburgh and by a different aunt and uncle. Say, hey, come out to Pittsburgh. I know my mom loved that one. She does now, but at the time, come out to Pittsburgh. So I was like, okay, and I'm going to do a year of service. Maybe some of you have heard of the Pulse program. It's a voluntary service program. I thought, hey, yeah, I'd like to do a year service. And so now I'm growing my community. Now my faith community isn't just in Elkhart, Indiana. Now it's growing and including Pittsburgh and the greater area. And I'm starting to work with people and cultures that I didn't know before. And so now my work in this voluntary service, adventure as I like to call it, is taking me to communities that are African American, to other denominations, Presbyterian, United Methodist, working with youth pastors. And so now this community is growing bigger and bigger. And then, in this time of being in Pittsburgh, I get this tap on the shoulder by a youth pastor saying, hey, our group is going to Costa Rica and we know about your story. Would you like to come with us? Now, I had already been to Costa Rica. Again, I visited with my family. I'd gone to Goshen College, gone through the study service trimester program. I attempted learning Spanish. Didn't work very well. I forgot it. And so now this is 10 years later, and this tap on the shoulder, and I think, I think I do. I'd like to go. And so they introduced me to about 4 or 5 people that are doing grassroots ministry there in Costa Rica. And they're Costa Ricans. It's not a mission agency. They're there, just trying to reach their people. And so it was a life-turning event, a great one. It gave me the opportunity to then, after constant visiting, about 2 or 3 times a year, visiting Costa Rica, I was able to say, you know what, I'm going to go live there. Now, I'm not going with an agency, so I don't really have the support and the background, and I'm kind of just jumping in and see what happens. And so I ended up living there 7.5 years, and I loved it. I miss it. It was warm down there. And it was an experience in that, again, my world is growing even more so. Now I'm understanding God is all over this world. And that is so important at this point, as I'm thinking about, God, what are you doing in my life? How did I get here? Yeah, I'm returning back to my birth country, but I have a culture in me that is a culture of the U.S. And so now all of a sudden I'm saying, I got to think differently. I have to speak a different language. Finally, I learned Spanish for real. It was hard, but I learned it. And there's something that changes in you when you start to learn a new language, when you start to rub shoulders with people that do things differently than you, for a different reason, but you have one thing in common, and that's faith. So they weren't Mennonite. I wasn't hanging out with Mennonites. In fact, the majority of my friends were Catholics. But there was something that kept us in community. And that's where I realized, oh my goodness, this is a big world. God was here before I got here. God's been working. And all of a sudden, I get to join in that story. And I think that's really key. So now, I've had opportunity after opportunity after opportunity to say, yes, God, I want to be a part of that story. And then I hear a voice, and it says, it's time. Time for what? Time to go back to the U.S. Oh, all right. It's probably because of Mom, I need to go back. It's been a while. It's been almost 20 years since I've lived near home. Time to be near family. I've been hanging out with all these other families. It's time to pay attention to my family, to remind them that I love them too, and be a part of that. And so in the midst of thinking about going back, I remember it going through my mind, not something formal, but kind of, well, if I'm going to go back, I hope I can find something in ministry, because I actually was teaching English at that time, and I wasn't sure how I was going to get into ministry again. And it'd be kind of nice to work for the Mennonite church, and because I've been working with Presbyterians and African American Baptists and all the others, but not my own church. It'd be kind of nice if the place was an Elkhart, and then I could at least live near my mom. Voila. Hey, church relations position just opened up in Elkhart, Indiana. What more could you want, right? Well, that was God's answer. That's maybe what he meant by it's time. And so that is the story that I'm joining now. A mission story that says, I have been leading you to something that's bigger. Sometimes we don't even know. We don't know how big that story is going to be. But there's something amazing when you get to not say, hey, I did this and I did that, but I'm joining in something that's already happening. People have been going before me. People have been doing missions. They have been saying, hey, God wants us to preach the good news, to release the captives. And see, now it's a realization in my mind that this isn't just about doing good works and being a good person and serving and doing my time and voluntary service for other people, but it's realizing that what is the good news? What are we proclaiming? And what we're proclaiming is God. And so when I got to Mission Network, they have this tagline called Be the Gospel. And I thought, I can do that. I know what that means. Because it's about being present. It's about being present in people's lives. It's about being in relationship and sharing with one another and hearing what they're doing and sharing what we're doing and partnering together in ways that we can do things much bigger than if we were doing it by ourselves. And so I said, yes, again, I can do this. And so that's what I am doing now. I'm partnering. I am church relations. And in a way, my coworkers said, hey, we're missionaries too. And I guess, in a way we are. Whether you're sitting in the pew, whether you're working for a mission agency, whether you're working out there in the community, whether you are out there in a field in a different country, we're part of that story. We are the missionaries when we are the gospel, when we are present with people, when we are sharing our lives, when we are partnering together. And so I have found an exciting new chapter in my life in being a part of Mission Network. And just to give you a few facts, Mission Network works in about 59 different countries. We have about 100 partner organizations, meaning that we are going places where people have invited us in. So the local people are saying, hey, God is moving among us and we want to do something. Can you come and join us? And we're saying yes. We are coming alongside. We are partnering with them. We are joining our stories together. And so that's what I've been learning about in this journey, in my journey, as I begin this chapter in missions. What it means to partner, to share lives, and to join in the story. And so I want to thank you, Bethel Mennonite, for the way that you've partnered with Mission Network, for the way that you've joined the story when you pray for us, when you support people like Dennis and Connie Byler in Spain. And so these are opportunities when you have a speaker come and share. These are our ways, no matter where we live, but our ways of coming together and partnering. So I want to thank you, and thank you for letting me share this moment.